Hello there, this is Heretic Prince. In the battle for the Warhammer hobby, the debate over a certain line that should not be crossed has been breached. Radhom, who I best know from actually having a debate with Arch Warhammer, came out with a very interesting tweet. He said, and quote, "The naming and shaming of neo-Nazis has proven an effective tool in disrupting their ability to operate. It should be handled by dedicated, anonymous anti-fascist cells. In OS, they often assist news organizations in doing exposés uncovering criminal and anti-societal activities." Now, to most people, this wouldn't sound too bad. They might say, yeah, fuck those Nazis, and I would be inclined to agree. But there's a problem. We all understand the stigma of the Nazi label. But the problem is we're talking about woke people, the woke cult. To them, the people who started World War II and carried out mass genocide are completely indistinguishable from people who want to hold true to the lore of a tabletop war game. Let that sink in for a moment. Of all the tabletop games out there, of all the games in the world, all the millions of hobbies, 40K occupies a small space in that, but they truly cannot tell the difference. This declaration swings open the gates of labeling any and all who disagree with the righteous cause of wokeism to be labeled as Nazis and dealt with appropriately. There are no bad tactics, only bad targets. This tweet was in response to ruler of humanity Big E, who is also known to be part of Wokehammer, retweeting a post Radhom had made that I won't show here. The retweet is in favor of doxing someone who's being accused of being a neo-Nazi. Ruler of Humanity said, "Sorry, dude," at Radhom. Not even neo-Nazis should be doxed, but reported and handled in an appropriate civil way. Now, for me, and I imagine for others, this tweet had touched a nerve. Only a month prior, Wokehammer Els had tweeted this: "Well, it finally happened, chat. I upset someone enough for them to dox me in some vain attempt to scare me. Freshly made throwaway account as well and everything." In the message, Warhammer Els, I will call him L for now on, just for brevity. The message said, "You have 24 hours to delete all your Twitter and Discord accounts, or else I'll make sure you're not only unemployable, but won't be able to sleep at night." Yes, this is quite a view into how the woke operate. But what I did find interesting is that this came from a member of the woke cult dissenting against a group, saying doxing was wrong. And when I saw it, I knew it was just a matter of time before they begin to burn this person down. You see, for the woke, Nazis are dissenters, people who do not prostrate themselves before the woke belief. The slightest, the tiniest of disagreements, turning the knob, a little bit to the left or to the right, and you are no longer acceptable. You're a Nazi and therefore deserve to be doxed. And I found that I was not wrong. Here we see Cerberus saying, "What's with this weird, let's be civil to neo-Nazi stance?" And again, I feel like I have to really push to make sure that people understand that when they say neo-Nazi, they're not talking about Nazis. They're talking about anybody who disagrees. I mean, we're talking about people who have a slight disagreement on the lore of a tabletop war game. I find it interesting how people who believe so many things are on a spectrum, such as gender, believe something such as morality, good and evil, right and wrong, are black and white. or binary. You're with them or you are evil. Ruler of humanity tries to argue back, saying, no, I am for punching a Nazi, but internet sleuthing has a deep relationship with the law of unintended consequences. And then another reply says, Nazis deserve to get punched and doxxed. I can see a broad argument against internet vigilantism, but specifically calling for Nazis as even they don't deserve it is such a bad take. Which really, I should even, whenever I read these, stop using the word Nazi and use the word dissenter. Which is why I call these people Puritans. Any who disagree are heretics and need to be thrown upon the funeral pyre. But rest assured, that tweet certainly got some negative comments, such as Thor Odinson saying, thanks for exposing just what sort of piece of garbage you are, which is someone willing to dox people and try to do them harm over disagreements over a miniature game. You're also clearly the type of person who would inform on their neighbors in a totalitarian state. And then this is one I just found funny, saying, fakey, hey, maybe we shouldn't dox people. Wokehammer, are we going to have a problem? Now, whenever it comes to Cerberus's take, saying, what's the weird, let's be civil to neo-Nazis stance, Thor had a really good response here, which is a bit of a long read. But the important thing to take away from this is, when they're talking about neo-Nazis, let's remember that the source of these disagreements are, once again, a miniature war game. I mean, Christ almighty, these people have no shame. Attempting to invoke the stigma that comes with the term Nazi. Once again, one of the greatest villains in all of history who did atrocious things, and applying it to people who disagree over the lore of the hobby game. It really takes something special for me to look at somebody and say, have you no shame? Because I'm not typically a believer in arguing against anything based on a moral standpoint. I tend to argue based from the objective facts, or what's good for people or bad for people. And even I'm pushed past that border at the idea of calling people Nazis over such a trivial thing. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to call the 40K game trivial, but it's nowhere near a world war. I'm sure we can all agree on that. Now, just to look at some of the people who disagreed with Radhom here. Once again, doxing is bad unless it's against people I don't like. Get lost, you moron. And then, of course, the typical meme, everything I don't like is just like the Nazis. A book for dickheads. You are a despicable worm. Don't expect sympathy from me when what goes around comes around. This is something I've literally had to say to a friend of mine whenever they were going on one of their woke rants. I just stopped them and told them, I promise you, when they put me in the gulag, I'll save you a seat, 'cause you won't be far behind me. If you don't support their politics, these animals are perfectly fine with labeling you as a Nazi and trying to ruin your life. They are actual menaces to society at this point. Treat them accordingly. This guy has called all kinds of people neo-Nazis, including myself, for no reason other than disagreement on lore for a fictional universe. He arbitrarily labels people it, and now we know why. So he can direct brown shirt behavior to silence people he doesn't like. You read it well. This man supports doxing people. The good guys. And here's what illustrates the difference between the chuds, so-called chuds, right, and the woke. the Puritans. And I hope what you've stuck with me this far, because this is really important, because I hear so many people attempt to equate the two to each other. Anti-woke and woke are the same. No, they're not. And Wokehammer L's here, or L for short, perfectly demonstrates this. Quote, "Anyway, champ, I received an update on this yesterday evening. Basically, police know, and by extension, I know who did the funny, and I won't be taking any further action." And he puts in quotes here, "But Els, he doxed you." Yeah, it's some 14-year-old with too much free time and too much time on Twitter. He was questioned under caution and so on. He's had a scare. I know I'm a prolific asshole, but I don't feel like ruining some kid's life personally. I know some will disagree, but that's life. Now we go back to our regularly scheduled programming. And yes, some people did disagree. Some disagreed on the principle that without punishment, this person will not learn their lesson. I feel tempted to say this kid because they're 14. Hell, I did stupid stuff until my early 20s. Others disagreed on the principle that the woke or Puritans would have definitely charged criminal actions against anybody who did this to them. But again, this is the important difference. Agree or disagree. L is standing by his principles. It's not about sides here. It's about what he thinks is right. And he decided that not pressing charges was the right thing to do. And I applaud that. Again, I'm not even saying if I agree or disagree, just simply that he's standing by his principles. Principles is what separates us. Your own moral code, or whatever you want to call it, that makes you a good person. You know, maybe it's not about right or wrong. It's about what L feels in his heart. Giving someone a second chance, that's not such a bad thing. Forgiveness is a virtue. It takes a really big person to forgive someone who has wronged them. Now, if you are like me and you're kind of enjoying watching the debate unfold between Wokehammer and Chudhammer, Warhammer L's is a good account to follow because he does a lot of retweeting and replying to these things. But also, he does a lot of retweeting of people posting their minis or their art or their paintings, which is pretty kind of him. Let's face it, whenever it comes to art, part of you goes into it, and it's really nice whenever somebody has something nice to say about it. I'm a firm believer of internal validation. You need to look at the things you do and approve of them before anybody else, but a compliment from someone else, it's always a nice thing. And well, that's how the drama has unfolded so far, but I would like to take a moment to say something to any members of the Warhammer community who has stumbled upon my channel and listening to me now. My tiny channel has doubled in subscription, and it's been a lot of Warhammer folks. And not only just liking or commenting on the video, but many of them have gone out of the way to encourage me to get over my fear of attempting to paint minis. Some giving me tips, sorry. I've had a few to drink. But I've never seen a community so incredibly welcoming as the Warhammer community is. And I just want to thank you. I mean, even one of my posts to L about how I decided to attempt to venture into painting details on my Gundam models got retweeted by him. He didn't have to do that. I mean, it's not even part of his hobby. I guess in short, what I'm trying to say is that I've noticed, and I thank all of you for your comments and likes, and mostly the tips. You know what I'm saying? Just the fact that it's like, you know, you give a damn and you're welcoming. You're like, hey, give it a try. Anyway, from there, I think I will finish gushing and just finish with a simple thank you. While you're here, a like and subscribe would not go amiss. And as always, thank you so much for listening and letting me share my thoughts with you.